So I was playing Tooth and Tail multiplayer the other day and had this pretty good matchup that I wanted to record. As you can see, I very quickly find my opponent. Um, I had been mole rushed previously in previous few matches, so I was trying to be kind of cautious. I think I'd go back here and build my first army den, the lizard den. Yeah. Even though he had expanded once, and he doesn't end up mole rushing, I was still worried about it. Um, Now, in the early stages of the game, just doing a lot of scouting and exploring and looking at the lay of the land and trying to figure out what my overall big strategy for the map will be. And I find out, well, I've got this really safe expansion back behind my base, but he kind of does too. I'm kind of blocked. It's a very short range to his base, so I am worried about attacking early, or him attacking early and me trying to hold it off. I find out now that he's not being super aggressive, but I'm still wanting some military units more than just one Warren. So I'll build another one here. And so yeah, this is mostly just trying to make sure I get a foothold early and can match his army. I barely escaped there. And kind of setting up my economy and my military for the rest of the game. Well, for the early to middle part of the game. I managed to pick him off here, but I can't really capitalize on it because, as I just discovered at the edge of the screen there is a gun turret that he's put up at the corner of his base, which is sort of keeping me locked in at the moment because it's extremely slow for me to go up through the river. I kind of match up and do the same thing and put my own gun turret on this corner so he can't really easily attack me either. Almost died of the gun turret, just kind of scouting his army. He's got a lot of lizards, so I've made a skunk warren to try and counteract that a little bit in case he goes too heavy on the lizards. I start expanding because I figure, oh, here he's just doing a bunch of scouting, and I managed to pick him off again, but nothing really comes of it. I start to expand behind my base, build up a little bit more of a defense in front, and my goal here is to get a little bit of scouting done, hopefully find out whether he is expanding or just staying on one base, basically. Couldn't quite figure it out because he has his army kind of keeping me out. And so here I am just expanding, building up all my forces, spending my food, getting more farms, all that good stuff. I feel kind of relatively safe at my front, but I don't feel like I'm nearly strong enough to attack his front, and I'm getting really worried now about the rest of the game and how I'm going to kind of push out from this area that I'm in the bottom part of the map, where I only have basically two bases I can easily get to, and he almost has the rest of the whole map because he actually has bridges. Okay, there I'm able to scout successfully and see that he is expanding. So I'm getting worried because if I try to take my army north through the water, then he can kind of attack my main base with the full force of his army. It'll take me forever to get back and defend, or to loop around and attack his expansions in the backside of his base. So I don't see taking my army north through the water as a good option. I can't stay here either because then he could take over the rest of the map and eventually kill me. So I think, maybe let's just make sure he doesn't have any third expansions going up. I'm trying to figure out if he is doing any sort of macro heavy play where he's getting lots of farms that he doesn't think I'll be able to scout or see. And I find out, no, he's still on two base just like me. So I'm just building up my army, he's building up his army. I'm going to speed up a little bit through this next part. I'm building up some more units. I figure I'm gonna have to make one really big push with a really gigantic army. So even though, oh yeah, and this is where I find out, oh, he's built like 8 gun turrets keeping me pinned in here. I literally would lose my entire army if I tried to attack into that. And so my only option is to stay here, go north through the water, or attack into, like, he's basically created the Maginot line of gun turrets there. And my strategy is make a huge army, one that I can't reinforce when it takes casualties because all my food is tied up into the army and I won't have any food banked up to make quick reinforcements. Doing a little bit more scouting as usual. Find out that he's got this 3rd windmill up here, and so basically I'm not liking my options. I'm contained pretty well in here. If I move my army north through the water and he sees, he can attack my main base before I am able to get out. But I do this little sneak attack with these chameleons. You can see they're stealth, but they're on top of me. He doesn't know that they're with me. I see if I can maybe quickly take out this windmill with these 2 chameleons, but he brings his army over, so I abandon it. I try to dig my way out, and I make it, and the chameleons will stay stealth, and will come back to me here. So that was sort of a failed sneak attack ploy. It would have been pretty good if I had knocked out that windmill, but now I decide the only way forward, since I'm going to run out of food otherwise, is to take my army, hopefully my army is bigger than his, and to sort of establish this windmill up here as my 3rd base. So even if I can't necessarily directly attack him right now, I want to have that windmill up there. Of course I am able to attack him here. I'm able to attack his army with only a few of his gun turrets attacking mine. It was a relatively even trade, I think. This was a little bit of an overextension by me. I do manage to get the windmill here, but I do lose my whole army in the process. Except for a few stealth chameleons that can make it out, basically. So, I'm kind of hurting here. I'm able to reinforce a little bit, but I decide I need to start selling buildings in order to completely reinforce. He sees that I sold my gun turrets and is trying to kind of poke at me a little bit. I'm trying to just kind of push him out, trying to stay on the high ground, but I don't have long range units, so it's kind of tough. I don't want to stay in this gas. I'm doing kind of really poorly in this back and forth here because I'm staying in the gas that his skunks are shooting out and not using the high ground super effectively. A few of his skunks, we'll pick one off there, but a few of them go down to really low health and then come back up, back to full because he's got the medic doves as well. Here I realize I need to sell off more buildings in order to reinforce my army because, as a matter of fact, I do not have any farms. However, I start to make some up here at this windmill, realize he scouts it right when I do that, so I'm kind of teleporting back and forth, and then I realize, no, he's going to kill this windmill, I need to sell all these farms. So at this point, things are looking kind of bad. I have a few farms, I can't really attack into the gun turrets. He killed off my 3rd base up here, but I'm going to do the same thing I did a few minutes ago and attempt to rebuild it and just kind of leave my army in the middle in the water here. And hopefully he won't attack my main base while I do this. I need to create a few farms up here in order to survive. If you have no source of food income, then you will eventually starve out and die. I think that it'll auto-surrender in 1 minute. Even if you have a bigger army, if you have no food income, you'll lose. Now he is attacking my main base. I managed to get back. He's kind of focusing on the buildings, and at this point he decides to retreat. I've gotten back. I'm starting to defend. He's killed off a few buildings, but nothing huge. I attack, and I am able to pick off almost all of his units. If you look up on the top left side, I managed to pick off all of his skunks, all of his falcons. He doesn't have a big matriarch owl anymore. All he has left are his 15 gun turrets, which I definitely can't attack right now, 9 lizards, and some doves that are rebuilding. So in that uh, in that one action when he retreats, like I was really worried that he was doing way too much damage um, to my main base, but it turns out that was actually really good for me. My army managed to take out his army. Here I'm trying to fight his reinforced army as well as take out this windmill. I managed to take it out and fight off his army because I just have more than he does right now. I have more fighting units than he does because he's invested so much into that line of turrets. But it doesn't protect everything. I was able to get around it, get around that contain, and he's not selling them off. So I've got a little bit of food income up here. I'm making sure that I can defend it well and control the middle region of the map with these bridges. You can see that in the top left he is starving. He has zero food income, and still actually isn't selling off his turrets. And so in 13 seconds I will win the game by default unless he manages to get more food. I don't know this at the time, but I do realize that I have the kind of army advantage, so I'm trying to just contain him into his gun turrets. And I managed to kind of break out of my containment and then contain him at the very end. And I just thought that was a really, really close and awesome match. So I wanted to record the replay. Here you can see that we've got army values relatively even up till about 5 minutes. Then he kind of pushes up ahead of me. We have a few skirmishes after 7 minutes where his army value is like a lot more than mine, and then that one skirmish just after 10 minutes is where he tries to retreat, and I kill off almost all of his units. That was huge for me. And then at the very end, you can see that we've got a few more skirmishes, and his army size comes back down to mine. I think that is counting his gun turrets as part of his army value, because at the very end he had almost nothing, and I had still a significant amount, including a tier 3 matriarch unit. So I think that a lot of the reason the blue line here is over the red line is just because of all those gun turrets he built. Income wise, I was a tiny bit ahead of him in the early game, but then around 4 minutes start to fall underneath him, and he kind of has more income than me for basically the rest of the game up until 11 minutes. But somehow I managed to pull it out with lower income, just because I guess I didn't invest so much into the stationary gun turrets, and I managed to break out by taking my army up and through the water. So thank you for watching, and let me know if you want to see more videos like this recapping interesting tooth and tail matches.